Hi everyone, my name is Brydon Yao. This is the view out of my bedroom window of my childhood home in Shanghai. I hit a really tough patch just before going off to college, and I was really starting to feel the heat. I would often look out this very window and catastrophize. One day, while here, without instigation, my brother decided to hit me with a roll of paper towels. I chased him around and we wrestled over the roll until we were both tired and called a truce. It was strange, but in all that chaos, I was left feeling like everything was going to be okay for a while. I began this project thinking about moments like this, the challenges I've overcome at that age, and the role horsing around had in it. We didn't do it often, but when we did, it was memorable. And there's actually a name for this. My brother and I engaged in a spontaneous moment of rough and tumble play. Rough and tumble play, or RTP, is a very peculiar type of social interaction. It enacts aggressive physical behavior like chasing, pushing, or wrestling, yet it lacks the intent to do harm. In fact, it's done cooperatively in a rather light-hearted environment and with the goal orientation of recreation. And this has actually been shown to be greatly beneficial for psychosocial development and social bonding. And now, especially when I think back to these moments with my brother, I'm often left feeling amazing. Over time, I was convinced that this was my key to happiness. And when I lived with myself, it led me to the niche of grappling sports. I often wonder, what if I had access to these sports earlier in my adolescent years? And how does a steady stream of RTP mediated via grappling actually affect people of that age? My practice acquainted me with the dean of students at a high school in downtown Brooklyn. He also happened to run an after-school jiu-jitsu club. Upon hearing that, I was very, very intrigued and wanted to learn more. The dean, Eric, told me that while they had a few serious students, most were there just to have fun, which distinguished it from other after-school sports. Guided by my curiosity, I sat in on a meeting and held a workshop afterwards to learn about how playing in this way has left a mark on their high school lives. We started with self-portraits that had the students reflect on themselves as martial artists, trying to get the students to identify some qualities about themselves that they would attribute to their practice. That was followed by a questionnaire and some discussions about their drawings. Many students were only thinking about going off to college, not being sure whether or not they will have an opportunity to play like this after they leave, to engage in this type of activity, due to the increased responsibility in addition to not having access to this club. And these conversations made me realize something that I hadn't thought about. Continuously engaging in this type of play is not a very common experience past childhood. In fact, somewhere along adolescence and adulthood, there's a serious diminishing of play. But why? Especially when studies tell us that engaging in RTP can increase closeness between friends, buffer the effects of strain and stress, as well as lower cortisol levels and impart positive emotional affect. These are all very beneficial effects and outcomes for our increasingly stressful lives. So I took these findings and conducted some street interviews with users to hear their opinions. Many expressed a desire to play around, but they were just uncomfortable. Some say they just didn't have a time or place. Listening to this, I was left confounded. Why the hell are grown-ups not encouraged to let loose and play more despite the benefits? And so I spoke to Dr. Brooke Feeney, a relationship scientist and professor of psychology. She stressed that despite everyone focusing on the importance of play during childhood, the benefits do not end there. In fact, we talked about the apprehension and how it was due to the increased responsibilities of adulthood, where frivolities were seriously looked down upon as unproductive, and their space continuously shrinks. However, it's clear that the science says otherwise. RTP and even playing in general is immensely productive, especially for emerging adults who have to deal with a large uptick of mental health risks. In fact, I would dare venture to say that frivolous play may be the next frontier of personal wellness, just as working out and meditation were in previous decades. So now, how can we challenge these notions of seriousness and unlock the range of benefits of RTP for emerging adults? In order to achieve this, I developed a series of designs of varying physical contact levels and spontaneity. Varied levels of spontaneity to bring unexpected moments of RTP to the lives of emerging adults. So to begin, I felt it was very pertinent to just not think too much about it and actually just dive into playing. Therefore, I envisioned a recurring experience called Fence. Fence is a gladiatorial play fighting event targeting emerging adults to help them reconnect with rough and tumble play and realize its therapeutic benefits. Participants use foam implements to duel it out in one-on-one matches across an hour of non-stop tournament-style play. Fence encourages the duelists to shed their grown inhibitions and just get into heart-racing combat. We took individuals who have not experienced play fighting in some time and just thrust them into this event. This is how it went.
So when's the last time you did some play fighting?
I believe it was like 2 years ago at the game center. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing that. Everybody was watching us doing that. It was pretty stupid from somebody else's. So it was fun to us.
So do you kind of wish you could do that more?
Oh yeah. Every day, please, sir. Every day.
How do you feel about playing?
I feel great. It was so much fun, actually.
Do you like notice any improvements in your like mood?
Yeah, I'm happier.
Definitely better after all the cardio. And I feel like it's meaningful cardio because like sometimes when you do running and stuff, it's just like a routine. You set for yourself, you kind of have to do it, otherwise you feel bad for not doing it. This is something more like you're doing it for the fun, but it also gives you a good exercise. So I like it.
While the event was a success, and participants enjoyed being immersed in duels for over an hour, there were some things I couldn't help but dwell on. Many friends and acquaintances I had invited rejected the invitation because they would, say, feel weird. And during this event, we even attempted to intercept strangers in the park to play with us, but they seemed very uncomfortable for some reason. I was starting to get really sick of this apprehension. But then I had an odd idea, and I just went with it. I thought, well, is it possible to influence your friends and peers into a moment of RTP through the use of an ambush? And this eventually became bomb-poms. Bomb-poms are a specialized, oversized padded glove that helps you spring unexpected bouts of rough and tumble play upon your peers. Here's how it works. At rest, bomb-poms are hidden by just being a regular pillow. They're a static item of leisure. Sit on it, lay on it, use it as you would a regular pillow. Bring it into a working space, an academic space, or even a hangout space. But when activated, bomb-poms are also gloves that you can equip and rapidly deploy to ambush your friends, peers, and coworkers with some roughhousing. The gloves saw many forms and required a lot of material tests to find a combination that was light enough to swing around, soft enough to not hurt, and comfortable enough to be a pillow. Eventually, the product became constructed of a high-density polyurethane foam core and padded by toy stuffing wrapped in felt. Now, while it can be a lot of fun, this type of spontaneity may cross the line for some individuals. All the projects so far have required varying amounts of physical contact. So, it occurred to me that not everyone who wants to participate will be prepared for so much contact. And I wondered, is it possible to extract and replicate the aggressive and competitive goal orientation and the embodied physicality of RTP while not making contact with another person? So to play with this question, I envisioned Turf Takers, a speculative video game. Turf Takers is a smartwatch-based augmented reality, massively multiplayer online role-playing game, that's a mouthful, with a focus on open-world player versus player faction combat. Building off of the ideas of titans in these genres, such as Pokemon Go and World of Warcraft, Turf Takers envisions a new ways to play PvP MMORPGs. The game features a game world that is correlated with the real world, meaning that the game map will match the built physical space around you. Within the digital world, this map will be partitioned into sectors that players can dwell. Using their smartwatches, players can see where they are in the game world, as well as interact with the creatures and objectives within while they roam the physical world. But this is where it gets interesting. The core mechanic of the game revolves around capturing these digital sectors for your character's chosen faction, granting said faction's players with prestige and in-game rewards. So here's what the gameplay would look like. Upon entering the game, players will be prompted to create a customizable digital character. Once complete, they will be able to choose an in-game faction, grouping them with other players that choose the same faction. And once the player presses go, the game will be running passively in the background as the player goes about their day, processing telemetry data and pushing a notification when a player enters a contested or enemy territory. For example, Brian is out for a walk before running errands, but he notices that he's near an unclaimed sector. Using the in-game map, he navigates to the contested sector where the game notifies him that he has entered a capture point. At this point, the game prompts him with actions he must perform in order to capture this territory. For this, the designated action is high knees and chicken noises. The smartwatch's myriad of biometric sensors and microphone is able to detect whether Brian is actually completing these movements. If he is, the progression bar on the screen will advance. Now this is where it gets interesting. An enemy player from a different faction can also come in and challenge you at this contested point. They must also perform designated action, and once the enemy player does, the movement at the capture point will stall Bryan's progress. At this point, the two players are locked in a battle of physicality. In this case, well, Bryan wins due to his better stamina. So he completes the capture of this point, and upon victory, Bryan receives a loot box of rewards. These are cosmetic items and power-ups for his in-game character. His victory also leaves an imprint on the game map, capturing this point for all players to see. I chose early on in this journey to have fun with everything I do, and I hope that it shows through these projects I have presented to you. I hope that I can leave an imprint on your mind and help you reflect on the last time you truly let loose and played. Thank you so much.
I love this project because it really focuses on what I think is one of the most important design ingredients, which is permission. You are creating structure and permission for people to engage in a kind of behavior and activity that they may not feel, well, that they've been conditioned out of since they were a kid. The terminology, MMORPGs, massively multiplayer online role-playing game. How come that kind of game for turf takers?
So I actually grew up playing MMORPGs like World of Warcraft, and while it was really great to have like this massive immersive experience as a child, it does tend to be very addictive. And so I went into turf takers thinking about like something I'd rather be addicted to, essentially. Because I remember a specific anecdote from my childhood. Just after I started World of Warcraft, I remember like meeting a family member I haven't seen in a very, very long time, and then just all I could think about was just returning into the digital world. And I thought, well, if I was going to be addicted to anything, it might as well to be going out and playing in public rather than going back into your computer.
I love that. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Brydon.
Thank you.